This is Our First Responders, Episode 2, Fighting the Green Valley Fires on 29th of December 2019.
The fire that probably most impacted the Albury region and the northeast of Victoria across the river was started with a lightning strike on the 29th of December up in the Green Valley, just in the Talmelmo area in the Upper Murray country. Resources were put on that on the 29th, 30th of December, additional resources were put on it with a predicted strong northwesterly wind on the Monday the 30th. And unfortunately then that strong northerly wind came as predicted, and it really gave that fire a good run. At approximately 9 o'clock on the 30th, that fire was still only 30 to 35 hectares inside. The fire got to a stage that it was no longer containable or safe. Crews had to be pulled out, both firefighting crews and heavy plant and equipment. A large number of additional resources were requested and sent up into the area. 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the 30th, I responded up in my command vehicle to see a very large column of smoke going up, which is a good indication that the fire behaviour was quite severe. With that, we set up into standard asset protection should anything untoward happen and the fire was to get out of the forest country into the grass country. We had tankers on every house that we deemed to be a potential threat. At approximately probably about 5 p.m, it was noted on a radio message that the fire had started to come out of the bush, and it was creating tornado-like activity, starting to swirl. With that, an emergency weather warning was issued from the local fire control centre that this pyrocumulus cloud had formed, and there was a potential of collapse, and firefighters would pull back and render themselves safe, which everyone did. At approximately 17:45, 1800 hours, a call came over our fire radio emergency truck down, and it was quite evident that something tragic had happened. A couple of minutes later, or might have been only seconds later, a second emergency call came across the radio that said firefighter down. Then within seconds after that, the vehicle I was sitting in on the River Road started to shake violently. There was massive amounts of smoke coming from behind me. Then I tried to reverse out. I realised there was a problem. I thought that I'd knocked my car into neutral because I was going nowhere, but it wasn't. The wind was so strong it was preventing me from reversing. With that, the initial wind rush backed off slightly, but as I started to get some momentum, the winds ramped up again, and as much as I could try and everything I had, the force of the wind actually pushed me off the road down the side embankment into some trees. With that, I realised the smoke was so thick you could barely see your hand in front of your face, and as we all hear, where there's smoke there's fire. So I had to very quickly get out. I couldn't get out on the top side because there was fire across the road, so I had to climb out the driver's side window, which was held closed by trees that I'd fallen against. And I climbed out and made my way was heading towards where I knew the Murray River was for safety. Ended up falling down an embankment where the house was. There was a house below me which I couldn't see because the smoke was so thick, and badly tore the muscles in my leg, but thankfully there was a fire truck parked there to just come in to do asset protection to that house, and I was able to jump on the radio and call emergency that I'd been impacted, and unfortunately that I'd lost the vehicle. The wind was still extremely strong, and I mean cyclonic strong. It was crazy. There was embers and debris getting blown horizontally. If I had a fire cap on, it blew that off, and I found two guys down in the Murray River who had been impacted by this same event. They'd physically been impacted by fire. They were on the property just above me. They were off their truck doing normal spot fire and asset protection, and this thing, it was nearly like the fire behaviour was like the air was burning. There was fire everywhere. I found those two boys, I spoke to them, we arranged medical evacuation for them. We looked at getting a helicopter in, but it just wasn't viable at the time. So I held myself back, made sure they got out, along with another firefighter, James Laycock from Tabletop Brigade, who was instrumental in managing myself, the other two injured firefighters, and also two tankers protecting a house, so he did an amazing job. When this pyro cloud collapsed, it had blown fire in kilometres in every direction, 360 degrees. The fire had well and truly gone. It had been blown over the river into Victoria and it was off, and unfortunately we lost it. With that, I was evacuated off the fire ground by my home brigade boys from Splitters Creek. They brought me in, heading into Albury. Once we were able to maintain phone or get phone service, I rang the local fire control centre and asked about the initial emergency call about truck down and firefighter down, and they confirmed that unfortunately we'd lost a firefighter, which was pretty sad. So, no, I didn't know Sam, but once we all put the yellow jacket on, there's 70,000 of us across the state, you're all one big family. And when you lose someone, you're on the same fire ground, someone from your district, it really hits home. Sam's story was just terrible for a young 28-year-old boy to lose his life out helping his community, newly married. His wife's due to have a baby in May. It was heart-wrenching, and it's had a huge impact. But on the positive note, it's brought the community together very, very well. You know, we all live our own lives quietly, but something like this has brought so many people together. There's been so much support, and it's really brought the city and the country together as well. The support from Melbourne and different ethnic groups coming up here and donating and wanting to help, the Sikh community, the Buddhist community, the Chinese community out of Melbourne. I think it's brought the whole country together really, which out of all the bad stuff, there's always something good, and that's one of the positives.